This morning, January 7th, 2026, something went down in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Venezuela that nobody saw coming. A Russian submarine and warships suddenly showed up to protect an oil tanker called the Marinera from an American seizure attempt. Let's rewind a bit to understand this thing from the beginning. This tanker, which used to be called Bella 1, was hauling Venezuelan oil, and that's risky business these days. Why? Because America's got strict sanctions on Venezuela, and tankers moving their oil become direct targets for the U.S. Coast Guard. Since December 2025, Washington had been systematically blockading these tankers, and every ship trying to dodge the sanctions found itself in America's crosshairs. But the Bella 1 tanker didn't give up easy. In a smart move to get around the sanctions, the ship changed its name to Marinera and raised the Russian flag instead of the old one. This move wasn't random. It's a known strategy in the shipping world called flag hopping, where a ship changes its registration and flag to escape sanctions. And sure enough, when the U.S. Coast Guard tried to board the ship, the captain flat out refused, telling them the ship's Russian now and nobody can touch it. The Americans weren't playing around. The U.S. Coast Guard had court orders to seize the ship. With them were P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, and this plane is a technological masterpiece in every sense. It's 39.47 meters long, wingspan of 37.64 meters, and maximum takeoff weight of 85,820 kilograms. Not just that, this plane's equipped with two CFM56-7B engines putting out 27,300 pounds of thrust each, reaching speeds of 907 kilometers per hour. The P-8A isn't just a surveillance plane, it's a complete combat platform with Raytheon APY-10 surface search radar, AN, ALQ-240 electronic warfare system, and capability to carry Harpoon anti-ship missiles and Mark 54 torpedoes. This thing flies at 12,496 meters altitude and can stay on mission for 4 hours at a distance of 2,222 kilometers from its base. The Americans were using the AIS system, which is the automatic identification system for ships, to track the tanker. But the tanker kept deliberately turning off the device, changing course, doing everything to lose the Americans. But the P-8A was watching from above with radar and cameras, and nobody can hide from it. Then suddenly, the situation escalated dramatically. Russia decided it wasn't leaving the ship alone and sent a submarine and other warships to protect the tanker. The Russian submarine, whose type nobody officially announced, is most likely Kilo class from Project 636, considered one of the quietest diesel-electric submarines in the world. This sub is 73 meters long, 9.9 meters wide, and weighs about 4,000 tons submerged. It moves with two diesel engines at 1,500 kilowatts each and a main electric motor at 6,800 horsepower. Max speed underwater is 37 kilometers per hour, and range is about 11,000 kilometers when surfaced at 13 kilometers per hour. This sub isn't just for reconnaissance, it's a full attack platform. It's got 6 torpedo tubes, 533mm caliber in the bow, and can carry 18 torpedoes or 24 naval mines. And what's even more dangerous, this sub's equipped with Kalibr missiles that launch from the torpedo tubes, reaching ranges of 2,500 kilometers for hitting land targets and 220 kilometers for hitting ships. The MGK-400EM Rubicon sonar system can detect targets at distances 3 to 4 times greater than the distance someone could detect it. Maximum diving depth is 300 meters, and it can stay at sea for 45 days without returning to base. The meaning of the Russian submarine showing up in this scene is simple. Russia's telling America this ship is Russian now and nobody's touching it. The message was clear and direct. The U.S. Coast Guard found itself in a really tight spot. On one hand, they've got court orders to seize the ship. On the other hand, the Russian submarine and its escort ships are saying any attempt would be direct provocation of a nuclear power. The Coast Guard had ships from the Legend class, which are the largest and newest cutters in the American fleet. These ships are 127.4 meters long, 16.4 meters wide, and weigh 4,500 tons. They're equipped with a Mach 11057 7mm gun, Phalanx CIWS air defense system, and AN/SLQ-32 electronic warfare system. Top speed is 52 kilometers per hour. Range is 22,224 kilometers, and crew is 120 people. These ships can carry 2 helicopters and fast intercept boats. But despite all this power, the situation was incredibly complex. The situation was like a dangerous game of naval chess. The Russian submarine underwater, Russian ships on the surface surrounding the tanker, U.S. Coast Guard watching from a distance, and P-8A aircraft circling the area. Each side calculating its next move with extreme precision because any mistake could turn the situation into an actual clash. The Americans had tough choices. They could try to seize the ship by force, but that means direct confrontation with the Russian submarine and escort ships, and that could escalate into a major international crisis. The second option is to back down and let the ship pass, but that means Russia won this round and embargo became weak and anyone could challenge them if they've got Russian protection. The third option is to keep watching and apply diplomatic pressure, trying to find a legal solution without military confrontation. This situation isn't completely new, but it's dangerously unprecedented. America had intercepted Iranian tankers before in 2020 to 2023 and seized ships with no clear flag. But this time's different because Russia entered the scene with real military force, not just statements and condemnations. Moscow's sending a message to Washington and the whole world. We're ready to use naval power to protect our interests and our allies' interests. The legal debate around this is incredibly complex. From the American side, the Coast Guard is enforcing legitimate economic sanctions, has court orders from American courts, and that's their legal right under U.S. law. From the Russian side, the ships now registered under the Russian flag, and in international waters, ships fall under the law of their flag state. And any seizure attempt is considered a violation of freedom of navigation and Russian sovereignty. International maritime law says ships in the high seas, meaning outside the 12-mile limit from shore, fall under flag state jurisdiction. But America says the ship changed its flag during the chase to escape sanctions, putting it in a legal gray zone. This also isn't a military operation in the traditional sense. There was no gunfire, no clash, no human casualties, but the tension was sky high. This is a new type of confrontation called non-kinetic escalation. Both sides showing their strength, sending messages, pressuring each other, but avoiding direct collision. Why? Because nobody wants an actual war between two nuclear powers. But at the same time, nobody wants to look weak or back down easily. This situation reveals really important things about international conflict in 2026. First, the conflict between America and Russia isn't just in Ukraine or Syria anymore. It's extended to the oceans and economic sanctions and trade routes. Second, Russia proved it's capable and ready to use its naval power to protect allies like Venezuela and challenge American dominance of the seas. Third, economic sanctions, which America saw as an effective weapon, are now being challenged, and there are countries and companies finding new ways around them. Fourth, future confrontations will be more complex. We're going to see more military escorts for commercial ships, bigger legal and diplomatic clashes, and fewer attempts at direct ship seizures if major powers are protecting them. The real danger isn't in the planned confrontation. The danger is in unintended accidents. A ship accidentally colliding with another ship, a plane getting too close to a submarine, miscommunication. Any of this could make the situation explode and turn into a real war crisis. This situation also proves that wars in the 21st century aren't like the old days. There doesn't have to be tanks and fighter jets and destruction. War today is fought with sanctions, naval chases, legal maneuvers, economic pressure, showing strength without actually using it. Each side trying to win win without paying the price of actual war. In the end, the tanker Marinera passed through, the Russian submarine kept protecting it, and the US Coast Guard tactically withdrew. This round went to Russia, but the long war's still going. Washington's definitely planning the next moves, and Moscow's ready to respond. And the whole world's watching, because this situation isn't just about one oil tanker, it's about who's going to control the seas and who's going to set the rules in the new world order.